I saw today that like the hype cycle for Disney's Hoppers has started. They're producing like a fucking Avatar knockoff where they put people into robotic beavers, and it's like it's basically Avatar but with like just dumb and like it. Yeah, somehow it's even worse than James Cameron's Avatar. But like, yeah, this movie, like from a conceptual standpoint, looks stupid. The animation looks stupid. The trailers look stupid, and yet critics are coming out trying to call it the best movie ever made. Okay, and I do think it really does need to be said that the reason they're doing this is just to try to glaze Disney, to try and keep them relevant as it becomes more and more apparent that the better studio, Nintendo Illumination, are going to destroy Disney this year with the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And the Zelda movie is going to destroy everything in the Black Sabbath next year. Like, we're at the point now where Nintendo is putting out better movies than Disney is. And we're still in that, like, awkward phase where we're still trying to deny it. We're still trying to tell people that, like, no, Nintendo is failing, bro. Nintendo has no, they can't compete with Disney. Disney is just such a huge company. Disney is a huge declining brand run by communists, okay? They can't innovate, they can't do anything, they don't have any real talent, they don't have the ability to get new talent, and what we're seeing is just a slow, gradual decline of this brand and everything it stood for. Like, Nintendo is going to not only crush them, they're going to crush the illusion that the industry has built up over the past several years that Disney is this, like, untouchable monolith when it comes to animation. Like, we are going to see fuck Disney and DreamWorks. Like, this doesn't matter anymore. Like, Nintendo's going to stop them both pretty readily. And I don't think Hollywood is really prepared for this. Like, the era of them having, like, a dominant force on, like, movie-making culture is pretty much over. Okay? Like, you know, the traditional, like, culprits for making movies as bad as they have been for the past, like, forever, have just completely collapsed. Nobody's going to watch their shit anymore. People are more enthusiastic about the Mario movie. Like, there is no denying that Mario is a bigger brand than Frozen, than Spider-Man, than, like, Hoppers, okay, than Toy Story. Like, there's no getting around that. Like, we are going to see the Super Mario Galaxy movie this year outperform Toy Story 5. And we're still seeing, like, you know, the industry do everything they can to, like, run damage control for Disney, to, like, try and pretend that things aren't looking very bleak for them. They're going to try and fake their numbers. They're going to do what they did last year. When the Mario movie came out, where they just tried to, like, hype up the Barbie movie instead and try to pretend Barbie was relevant when in reality, the movie that everyone remembers is the Mario movie. The Barbie movie, I think, is just kind of an example of, like, what a decline looks like, because the Barbie movie is something that was hyped up and worshipped because you were supposed to hype it up and worship, as opposed to the Mario movie, which people went to because they actually wanted to see it. Like, the simple fact of the matter is, Nintendo is just dominating the Hollywood cycle right now, and there's just nothing they can do to stop it. Like, you're going to have, like, all these film critics come out, glazing Toy Story 5, glazing Hoppers, glazing the idea of Frozen 3 and 4. They're going to pretend that Spider-Man is still relevant. And all the while, Nintendo's going to be getting bigger than all of that. Like, like, I think there's a lot of reasons for this. Like, it's not just a political thing, but, like, Nintendo has just done a better job just kind of building up their cabal of characters in their sense. Because, like, you can watch the Super Mario Galaxy movie and you can see elements from Odyssey, from Yoshi's Island, from, like, Super Mario Bros. 2. Like, you know, you can see all these, like, different characters utilized in this fresh, exciting way. And what you have is, like, endless room for sequels, essentially. What you have is this, like, endless potential for growth. For Disney, you don't have that. For Disney, you see, like, Frozen, you see Elsa and Anna, and you're just like, well, what are they going to do with them this time? You know, like, there's no room for growth there. There's no room for development. You know, like, by their nature, Disney movies should be one-offs, you know, where you just kind of have, like, the general setup and then the conclusion. You know, like, they can't really, they're not really designed to go on indefinitely the way that, like, most Nintendo brands are. Right? You know, Zelda, a sequel to a Zelda movie would be radically different than the first one, right? You know, the fact of the matter is, Nintendo's, like, innovated so much when it comes to their characters and ideas that, like, I think a lot of normies just aren't aware of just how much better they are than, like, the typical Disney fare. And it's kind of like we're kind of in that phase, you know. We were in like in like the 2000s where, like, people who play a lot of Nintendo games know, like, how much better the Nintendo movies are than the animation industry. It reminds me a lot of, like, what it was like being an anime fan in the 90s and 2000s, where, like, everyone around you would sneer at you and hate you and, like, shit on you for watching shows like Yu Yu Hakusho or Gundam Mobile Fighter G or, like, Zatch Bell, One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, right? You know, like, you know, people would harass you for watching Pokemon at a certain point. And what ended up happening is that those brands became bigger and bigger and bigger and are still relevant today, while way more widely accepted today. While today, games like, you know, things like sports, you know, things like live TV are like things like traditional theater-going experiences, they're on the decline because the Japanese and entertainment industry was just so much better than what the West was offering. And now we're kind of seeing the same thing happen to Nintendo specifically. Because Nintendo has been going through, like, this similar process where, like, you know, all of, like, the built-in, like, xenophobia against Japanese products have just kind of, like, collapsing, and people are still trying to maintain, like, the illusion of power and control when Nintendo is just bigger than everything. You know, I would not be surprised if the Super Mario Galaxy movie is, like, bigger than Avatar, or if it's bigger than, like, Avengers Endgame. Like, we're gonna get to that point eventually. It's just a matter of, like, of time until it happens, until we see it, until we see it play off. Like, the simple fact of the matter is, the West has this, like, weird idea that their pop culture characters are way more iconic than they actually are. Like, nobody fucking cares about Superman. Nobody knows the X-Men. Nobody cares about Spider-Man. Like, nobody knows who SpongeBob is. Nobody thinks he's funny. Okay, like, again, we have to accept that, like, all of our cartoons, all of our, like, culture cultivated for us by our Jewish overlords, like, none of this really is a representation of who we are as a people and what we actually enjoy. Like, the simple fact of the matter is, right now, the Japanese have a better understanding of what's universally appealing, what people actually want to experience, and are, like, delivering that to us in spades. And the West just can't bring themselves to admit it. Like, the West is just delusional, trying to gaslight you into thinking Superman is, like, this all-powerful character that will always be relevant when the Superman comics are on the verge of getting outsold by One Piece, how Superman's getting his ass kicked by Homelander in the comics right now, which, by the way, is something that people told me would never happen. You know, like, you look at, like, what's going on in, like the world of Western entertainment, and you see this very clear, obvious decline. You know, like, Hollywood is propped up by just fake numbers and propaganda. You know, it doesn't have any real cultural impact or relevancy. And that's going to be more apparent as Nintendo products begin to dominate more and more of the cultural landscape. You know, Nintendo is simply more popular than your favorite thing.